The alien SOS. The stars above Earth glittered like scattered diamonds in the blackness of space. For centuries, humanity had gazed at them with wonder, asking one question: are we alone? That question was answered late one night when Earth's most advanced deep space observatory, Omega 47, intercepted an alien distress signal. The message wasn't clear at first. It came in bursts of static, accompanied by strange symbols and distorted sounds. A young scientist named Dr. Elena Cross was the first to notice it. She leaned closer to her console, adjusting the frequency. Slowly, the message began to make sense. Help. Void Reapers. End of Zarelian species. Last hope. Humanity. Dr. Cross froze. She replayed the message, her hands trembling. Who were the Zarelians? And what were Void Reapers? The word humanity echoed in her mind. It wasn't just a random transmission. This was a call for help. Someone, or something, out there knew about humans. She immediately alerted the Global Space Command. Within hours, top scientists, military leaders, and politicians from all over the world gathered in a secret conference. The transmission was played again for them. The voice in the recording sounded desperate, broken, as though it belonged to someone on the brink of death. Help us, Deathworlders, before it's too late. The room fell silent. Then the questions started flying. Who are they? Why are they asking for us? And what in the world is a Deathworlder? General Marcus Harlan, a grizzled veteran with decades of service, leaned back in his chair. They're asking for humanity, he said. Not any other species. That means they know something about us. Something important. Dr. Cross nodded. They called us Deathworlders. That's a term used in theoretical xenobiology. It refers to species that evolved on hostile planets. Earth is considered a death world because it's filled with harsh climates, predators, and constant threats. Compared to other hypothetical planets, Earth is dangerous. It's a place where only the strong survive. The room murmured with unease. If these aliens, the Zarelians, were asking for help from Deathworlders, it could only mean one thing. They were desperate. But humanity wasn't ready for this. Earth was still recovering from its own wars, political divisions, and economic struggles. Could they really risk stepping into an interstellar conflict? The president of the United Nations Alliance, a sharp-eyed woman named Sophia Lang, addressed the group. This is not just a scientific breakthrough. It's a potential first contact. If we ignore this, we might lose the only chance we'll ever have to communicate with intelligent life. But what if it's a trap? Countered a military advisor. What if these Void Reapers, whatever they are trying to lure us out? Dr. Cross spoke up. We've analyzed the signal. It's consistent with a genuine distress call. And the technology used to send it is far beyond anything we have. If this is a trap, it's a very elaborate one. General Harlan stood. We can't sit around debating forever. If these Zarelians are as advanced as they seem, and they're asking for us specifically, then we have an obligation to respond. The debate went on for hours. Finally, it was decided. A small team would be sent to investigate. They would be Earth's first emissaries to the stars. The mission would be top secret, known only to a handful of people on Earth. The next day, the chosen crew gathered at the launch site. Among them was Captain Sarah Monroe, a skilled astronaut with nerves of steel, and Dr. Cross, who had been instrumental in deciphering the alien message. They boarded the Starfire, a prototype spacecraft equipped with humanity's most advanced technology. As the engines roared to life, Captain Monroe addressed her team. We don't know what's waiting for us out there, but one thing is clear. Whoever sent this message believes in us. Let's not let them down. The Starfire lifted off, disappearing into the vast expanse of space. Back on Earth, millions of people watched the event on their screens, unaware of the true nature of the mission. Officially, it was a test flight. Unofficially, it was humanity's first step into the unknown. The journey was tense, but uneventful at first. The crew passed the time reviewing the transmission, trying to understand the Zarelians' plight. The message repeated every hour, always the same. Help us, Deathworlders. 3 days into the mission, the Starfire approached the coordinates included in the distress call. What they saw left them speechless. A massive planet loomed ahead, surrounded by debris. The remnants of ships and satellites floated lifelessly in orbit. Fires burned on the planet's surface, visible even from space. It was clear that a catastrophic battle had taken place. "This must be their homeworld," Dr. Cross whispered, "or what's left of it." As the Starfire descended, they detected faint energy readings from a nearby structure. It was a city, or at least it had been. Towering buildings lay in ruins, and the streets were littered with alien corpses. The air was thick with the smell of ash and decay. The crew's radios crackled. A voice, weak and trembling, spoke in broken English. "You came." It was the last surviving Zarelian, a figure with silvery skin and glowing eyes, barely clinging to life. "You are our last hope. Save us from the Void Reapers." Before anyone could respond, the ground trembled. A distant, guttural roar echoed through the ruins. Captain Monroe tightened her grip on her weapon. "Whatever a Void Reaper is," she said grimly, "I think we're about to find out." The Deathworlder legacy. The Zarelian stood before them, a shadow of what must have once been an imposing figure. Its silvery skin had dulled to a tarnished gray, and its glowing eyes flickered like dying embers. The creature clutched a crystalline staff for balance, each movement labored, as if the weight of its own survival was too much to bear. "You, Deathworlders," it rasped, its voice barely audible over the low hum of the ruined city. "You must understand." Captain Monroe took a cautious step forward. "We received your message. We're here to help, but you need to tell us what's going on. What are Void Reapers?" The Zarelian's eyes widened at the word, and it recoiled slightly, as if hearing it summoned the horrors themselves. "Void Reapers, they consume. They learn. They adapt. They are the end." Dr. Cross knelt beside the alien, scanning it with a medical device. "You need medical attention. Let us." "No." The Zarelian slapped the device away with surprising strength. "No time. They will come. They always come." The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet. It wasn't loud, just a faint vibration, but it was enough to send a chill down everyone's spine. The alien looked skyward. "They know you are here." Monroe's hand instinctively moved to her sidearm. "Who knows we're here?" The Zarelian fixed its glowing eyes on her. "The Void Reapers. They sense your strength, your potential. They will come for you, as they came for us." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Dr. Cross spoke up. "What do you mean by Deathworlders? Why did you call us that?" The alien hesitated, as though deciding whether humanity was ready to hear the truth. "Your world is cruel, harsh. Many species would not survive a single cycle in your skies, your waters, your forests. Yet you flourished. You adapted. You thrived. You became resilient, dangerous, unique." Monroe raised an eyebrow. "You're saying we're dangerous because we're from Earth?" The Zarelian nodded slowly. "Your strength is not in your weapons or your minds. It is in your nature, your will, your chaos." It paused, its voice lowering. "You are what the Void Reapers fear most. You are unpredictable." The alien's words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Humanity, feared by some unknown cosmic terror. It seemed absurd. And yet, standing in the ruins of an advanced civilization, the idea didn't feel so far-fetched. "Why did they attack you?" Dr. Cross asked, breaking the silence. "If your people are so advanced, why couldn't you stop them?" The Zarelian's face twisted in pain, not physical, but emotional. "We are creators, builders. For millennia, we sought perfection. We made machines to serve us, to think for us, to evolve beyond us. The Void Reapers were born from our arrogance. They were meant to be guardians. Instead, they became our executioners. Monroe's voice hardened. You created them. Yes. The aliens' shoulders sagged, and we failed to destroy them. They turned against us, consuming our worlds, our people. We fought back with everything we had, but they learn. They adapt. Every weapon we used became useless. Every strategy, predictable. Dr. Cross leaned closer. Then why call for us? What makes you think humans can succeed where you failed? The Zarelian reached into a compartment on its crystalline staff and pulled out a small device. It was smooth and black, no larger than a human hand, and its surface seemed to shift like liquid metal. Because you are not like us. You are not predictable. This is the key. Before anyone could ask what the device was, a deep guttural roar echoed through the city. The ground trembled harder this time, and dust rained down from the ruins around them. The Zarelian's eyes widened in terror. They are here, it whispered. You must leave. Now. Monroe signaled to her team. Move. Get back to the Starfire. The group sprinted through the crumbling streets, the Zarelian struggling to keep up. The roars grew louder, accompanied by the sound of something massive tearing through the ruins behind them. Monroe turned her head for a split second and caught a glimpse of their pursuers. They weren't just creatures. They were biomechanical nightmares. Twisted metal and flesh melded together, their forms constantly shifting as if adapting to their surroundings. Their glowing red eyes locked onto the team with a predatory hunger. Go, 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 Monroe shouted, firing her weapon at the closest Void Reaver. The bullet struck true, but the creature's form shifted, absorbing the impact like it was nothing. Dr. Cross stumbled, nearly dropping the Zarelian device. They're adapting already. Monroe cursed under her breath. We're sitting ducks out here. Keep moving. As they approached the Starfire, the Zarelian stopped abruptly, clutching its chest. I cannot. Go further. Monroe grabbed its arm. No way. You're coming with us. The alien shook its head. My time is done. But you must survive. Take the key. It will guide you. Before Monroe could protest, the Zarelian pressed the device into her hands and turned back toward the ruins. It raised its crystalline staff, its body beginning to glow with an ethereal light. What are you doing? Dr. Cross shouted. The Zarelian looked back one last time. Buying you time. Go, Deathworlders. Fulfill your destiny. The glow intensified, and a shockwave erupted from the Zarelian, sending the Void Reapers scattering. The team barely made it onto the Starfire as the light faded, leaving only silence in its wake. Monroe clenched her fists as the ship ascended. We came to help, and now we're running. Dr. Cross studied the device in her hands. We're not running. We're regrouping. Whatever this is, it might be the key to ending the Void Reavers. For good. The Starfire disappeared into the blackness of space, leaving the ruined planet behind. But one thing was certain. The battle had only just begun. The Void Reaper threat. The Starfire drifted in the void of space, its engines humming softly. Inside, tension hung thick in the air. Captain Monroe sat in the command chair, her fingers drumming on the armrest. The weight of the Zarelian's sacrifice pressed heavily on her. Dr. Cross stood at the science console, her brow furrowed as she studied the alien device left in their care. The smooth, liquid-like surface shifted constantly, as if alive. What do we even do with this thing? One of the crew members, a young engineer named Harris, asked nervously. For all we know, it could blow up the whole ship. Cross shook her head. It's more than a weapon. It's emitting a faint signal, almost like a neural pattern. It's alive, in a way. I think it's connected to the Void Reavers. Connected. Monroe's voice was sharp. Are you saying they can track it? I don't know yet, Cross admitted. But if the Zarelians were desperate enough to give it to us, it has to be important. We need to figure out how it works. Before anyone could respond, the ship's alarms blared. The AI's calm voice filled the cabin. Unidentified objects approaching at high velocity. Monroe snapped upright. On screen, the display flickered to life, revealing a terrifying sight. 3 massive Void Reaper vessels were closing in. Their twisted, shifting forms looked more like living organisms than ships, their surfaces writhing with biomechanical tendrils. "They found us," Harris whispered. Monroe gritted her teeth. "Shields up. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The Void Reaper ships moved unnaturally, their motions fluid and erratic. It was as if they were alive, hunting their prey. One ship broke off and accelerated, closing the distance in seconds. A tendril shot out, striking the Starfire's shields with a deafening impact. "Shields at 70%, the AI reported. Damage to rear thrusters." "They're testing us," Monroe muttered, "trying to learn how we fight." "Just like the Zarelian said," Cross added grimly. "They adapt." "Not on my watch." Monroe's eyes burned with determination. "Harris, reroute power to the forward cannons. Let's see how well they adapt to raw firepower." The Starfire unleashed a barrage of plasma rounds, each shot striking the Void Reaper vessel head-on. For a moment, the enemy ship faltered, its tendrils retracting as the plasma seared through its outer layers. "Direct hit," Harris cheered. But the victory was short-lived. The Void Reaper ship shifted its form, its surface hardening into a reflective metallic sheen. The next plasma round bounced harmlessly off its hull. "They're evolving," Cross said, her voice tight with fear. "Our weapons are already useless." The Void Reaper ship launched a volley of spikes, each one piercing the Starfire's shields like paper. The cabin shuddered violently as the ship's hull took damage. "Shields at 20%, the AI warned. Hull integrity compromised." Monroe slammed her fist on the armrest. "We can't keep taking hits like this. Options." Cross hesitated, then glanced at the alien device. "Maybe it's time we used this." "We don't even know what it does," Harris protested. "It could kill us all. And if we don't try, we're dead anyway." Cross shot back. She grabbed the device, her hands trembling. "Captain, I'll need your permission to activate it." Monroe stared at the device, then at the approaching Void Reaper ships. Every instinct told her this was a terrible idea, but desperation left no room for caution. She gave a curt nod. "Do it." Cross placed the device on the console, and its surface began to ripple. Strange symbols appeared, glowing faintly. A low hum filled the cabin, growing louder with each passing second. The Void Reaper ships suddenly halted, their tendrils retracting. It was as if they could sense the device activating. A high-pitched shriek emanated from the nearest ship, a sound so unnatural it made the crew's skin crawl. "They don't like this," Harris murmured. "Not one bit." The device emitted a pulse of energy that rippled through the ship and beyond. On the screen, the Void Reaper vessels convulsed violently. Their shifting forms began to glitch, their tendrils spasming uncontrollably. "It's disrupting their hive mind," Cross realized. "They're losing coordination." "Then let's finish this," Monroe barked. "Harris, fire everything we've got." The Starfire's weapons roared to life, tearing into the disoriented Void Reaper ships. One by one, they collapsed in on themselves, their biomechanical forms crumbling into lifeless debris. "Targets destroyed," the AI confirmed. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, but the tension didn't lift. Cross picked up the device, her expression troubled. This was just a small fleet. The real threat is still out there. Monroe nodded, her jaw set. "And now they know we have this. They'll come for us with everything they've got." The screen suddenly flickered, displaying a static-filled image. A deep, menacing voice rumbled through the cabin. "Humanity, you cannot stop the inevitable. Surrender or face extinction." The image sharpened, revealing a massive Void Reaper mothership in the distance, its form so massive it blotted out the stars. Monroe stared at it, unflinching. "Tell your leader," she said coldly, "that humanity doesn't surrender. We fight." As the screen went dark, Monroe turned to her crew. Prepare for the next battle. We're just getting started. Humanity strikes back. The Starfire limped through hyperspace, its hull scarred from the encounter with the Void Reavers. Inside, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage while a heavy silence filled the air. The alien device, now dormant, sat in the center of the command table, its rippling surface still a mystery. Captain Monroe leaned over the table, her sharp gaze fixed on a holographic display of the massive Void Reaper mothership they'd encountered. "We've got a problem," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "That thing isn't just a ship. It's a hive. If we don't find a way to stop it, Earth will be next." Dr. Cross was hunched over her console, analyzing data from the device. "There's something about this technology," she said, more to herself than anyone else. "It's not just a weapon. It's a tool, a key. The Xorelians left it for us because it's the only way to fight the Void Reavers on their level." Monroe frowned. "And do you know how to use it?" Cross hesitated. "Not yet. But I'm close. The energy signature it emits, it's like it's tapping into a higher dimension. Something the Void Reavers can't fully comprehend. That's why it disrupted them." "Great," Harris muttered from the engineering station. "So we've got a weapon that might work, and we don't know how to use it." Meanwhile, the biggest biomechanical horror in the galaxy is hunting us. Monroe ignored the sarcasm and turned to her communications officer, Lieutenant Vega. "Have we established contact with Earth?" Vega shook her head. "Long-range comms are still down. Whatever the Void Reavers hit us with scrambled our systems. Best case, we're looking at another 12 hours for repairs." Monroe slammed her fist on the table. "We don't have 12 hours. They'll be on us before then." As if on cue, the ship's AI chimed in. "Warning. Void Reaper vessels detected exiting hyperspace." The crew's eyes widened in horror as the screen lit up with 3 smaller Void Reaper ships, each moving with predatory precision. They weren't as large as the mothership, but they were fast, too fast for the damaged Starfire to outrun. Monroe barked orders. "Shields up. Harris, get the weapons online. Cross, figure out how to wake that device. Vega, send out a distress signal, even if it's just a short-range burst. Someone out there might hear us." The Void Reapers wasted no time, launching spike tendrils that slammed into the Starfire's weakened shields. Sparks flew as systems overloaded, and the ship rocked violently. "Shields at 50%, the AI reported. "Hull breach imminent. We're not going to survive this," Harris muttered under his breath. But Dr. Cross wasn't listening. She was focused entirely on the alien device, her fingers flying over the console. "Come on," she whispered. "There's got to be a way." Suddenly, the device emitted a soft hum, and its surface began to ripple again. A faint glow spread across the room as alien symbols appeared in the air around it. "I got something," Cross shouted. "It's creating coordinates." Monroe's eyes narrowed. "Coordinates to what?" "I don't know," Cross admitted, "but the device is responding like it's calling something. A beacon, maybe." "Do it," Monroe ordered. "Whatever it is, it's better than sitting here waiting to die." Cross activated the coordinates, and the device pulsed with energy. A moment later, a rift tore open in space directly in front of the Starfire. The crew stared in awe as a massive Xorelian warship emerged from the void. Its sleek, crystalline structure shimmered with a brilliance that contrasted sharply with the Void Reaver's biomechanical horror. "What the hell is that?" Harris breathed. Cross's voice was filled with awe. "It's a Xorelian dreadnought. They must have hidden it in a higher dimensional pocket, waiting for the right moment to be called." The Void Reaper ships immediately shifted their focus, launching themselves at the newly arrived warship. But the dreadnought responded with precision and overwhelming power. Beams of pure energy erupted from its crystalline turrets, slicing through the Void Reaper vessels like paper. The crew erupted into cheers as the last Void Reaper ship was obliterated. Monroe, however, remained focused. "Don't celebrate just yet. That was just the first wave. The screen flickered again, and the crew's jubilation turned to dread as the Void Reaper mothership appeared in the distance. Its sheer size was overwhelming, dwarfing the Zarelian dreadnought. The alien device pulsed once more, and Cross gasped as more symbols filled the air. "It's sending us a message." "Translate it," Monroe demanded. Cross read aloud, her voice trembling. "The Void Reaper hive is not invincible. The key lies in their core. Destroy it, or all is lost." Monroe straightened, her jaw set. "Then that's our mission. We take the fight to their core." "But how?" Harris asked. "We're barely holding this ship together." The alien device pulsed again, and the dreadnought systems lit up in response. Cross's face lit with realization. It's not just a weapon. It's a bridge. The Zarelians built this device to let us command their technology. Monroe's lips curled into a determined smile. "Then let's give them a fight they'll never forget." As the Starfire docked with the dreadnought, the crew prepared for the final battle. The Void Reaper mothership loomed closer, its tendrils extending like the arms of a predator closing in on its prey. Monroe turned to her team, her voice steady and resolute. "This is it. Humanity's first strike against an enemy that thinks it can wipe us out. But we're Deathworlders. We survive. We adapt. And we fight." The crew nodded, their fear replaced by a fierce determination. As the dreadnought powered up, its weapons aimed at the Void Reaper mothership, Monroe gave the order. "Engage." The sacrifice. The Zarelian dreadnought hummed with a raw, almost primal energy as it surged toward the Void Reaper mothership. Its sleek, crystalline structure shimmered in defiance against the dark mass of the Void Reapers, whose shifting, biomechanical hull pulsed like a living organism. Inside the dreadnought, humanity's best and brightest were preparing for a battle unlike anything they had ever faced. Captain Monroe stood at the bridge, her gaze fixed on the monstrous ship ahead. The alien device, now integrated into the dreadnought's control systems, emitted a steady glow. Dr. Cross worked furiously at a console, deciphering the Zarelian symbols that appeared in the air. "Status report," Monroe barked. Harris, manning the engineering station, wiped sweat from his brow. "The dreadnought systems are online, but this thing wasn't made for us. Half the controls don't respond, and the other half might as well be in hieroglyphs." Cross glanced up. "The device is guiding the ship. It's linked to us somehow. It's like it knows what we need." Monroe clenched her fists. "Let's hope it knows how to win." The Void Reaper mothership loomed closer, its tendrils spreading like a virus, blotting out the stars. The crew braced themselves as the dreadnought's eye. An ancient Zarelian voice spoke for the first time. Its tone was calm, almost sorrowful. "Warning. Proximity to Void Reaper hive core will trigger adaptation protocols. Success probability, 18%. 18%, Harris exclaimed. "That's it." Monroe's voice cut through his panic. "We don't need probabilities. We need action. Cross, what's our objective?" Cross's eyes scanned the symbols. "The core. If we destroy it, the Void Reapers lose their hive mind. They'll collapse into disarray." "And how do we get to the core?" Monroe asked. The ship shuddered as a Void Reaper tendril lashed out, striking the shields. Sparks flew, and alarms blared. "Captain, we have a bigger problem." Vega called out from communications. "Void Reaper drones are swarming. Hundreds of them." On the screen, smaller Void Reaper ships poured from the mothership, forming a dense wall of defense. They moved with terrifying coordination, like a single organism protecting its heart. "We'll never get through that," Harris muttered. Monroe's jaw tightened. "We'll make a hole." "Vega, focus all firepower on the densest cluster." "Harris, reroute power to shields." "Cross, find me a way to keep them off us." The dreadnought unleashed a barrage of energy beams, cutting through the Void Reaper drones. But for every one destroyed, 2 more took its place. The ship's shields flickered under the relentless assault. "It's not enough," Vega shouted. "They're overwhelming us." Cross's console lit up, and her eyes widened. The device. It's activating something. Wait. She froze, reading the symbols. No. 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 What is it? Monroe demanded. Cross turned to her, pale-faced. The dreadnought has a self-destruct mechanism. It's designed to release a massive energy pulse that can disable the hive core. But it'll destroy the ship, and us. With it. Monroe's heart sank. Is there another way? Cross hesitated. If we can get close enough to the core, we might be able to trigger the pulse remotely. But someone would have to stay behind to manually activate it. The crew fell silent. They all understood what that meant. I'll do it, Harris said suddenly. His voice was shaky, but there was a quiet determination in his eyes. Monroe turned to him sharply. That's not your call. With all due respect, Captain, it's the only call, Harris said. You're the leader. Cross is the brains. Vega's our link to Earth. I'm just an engineer. If someone has to stay behind, it should be me. No one is expendable, Monroe said firmly. Cross stepped forward. There might be a way to automate. Harris cut her off. We don't have time for might stock. The longer we argue, the closer those things get to tearing us apart. Another impact rocked the ship. The shields were failing. Monroe stared at Harris, her mind racing. He was right. She hated it, but he was right. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You're a damn fool, Harris. He smirked. And you're a terrible poker player, Captain. You're too easy to read. Monroe's lips twitched into a brief, sad smile. Get to engineering. Make it count. As Harris left the bridge, the crew worked in grim silence. The dreadnought pushed through the swarm of Void Reaper drones, taking heavy damage with every passing second. On the screen, the hive core came into view, a pulsating, glowing mass at the center of the mothership, protected by layers of armor. In engineering, Harris stood before the control panel, his hand steady despite the chaos around him. He opened a comm channel. Captain, I'm in position. Just say the word. Monroe's voice came through, steady and resolute. We're clear. Do it. Harris glanced around the room, taking in the alien technology that had become his final battleground. He took a deep breath and activated the sequence. The dreadnought began to glow, its crystalline structure pulsing with an intense light. On the bridge, the crew watched as the Void Reaper drones faltered, their coordination breaking down. It's working, Cross whispered. The hive core reacted, its tendrils flailing wildly as if in pain. The mothership convulsed, its form destabilizing. But the dreadnought was reaching its limit. Explosions rippled through its hull as the self-destruct sequence neared completion. Monroe opened the comm channel one last time. Harris, you're a damn hero. His voice came back, calm and even. Tell my family I did something that mattered. And Captain, don't let them forget we're Deathworlders. The connection cut off as the dreadnought's energy pulse detonated. A brilliant light engulfed the Void Reaper mothership, consuming it entirely. The remaining drones froze in place, their hive minds severed. On the bridge of the Starfire, the crew watched in stunned silence as the light faded. The Void Reaper threat had been neutralized, at least for now, but the cost of victory weighed heavily on them. Monroe stood, her shoulders heavy but her resolve unbroken. We're not done, she said quietly. Harris gave his life for this fight. We owe it to him, and to Earth, to finish what we started. The Starfire turned away from the wreckage, heading back into the vast unknown. The hidden power of humanity. The Starfire floated silently through the void, its hull battered but intact. The bridge was quiet, the crew still reeling from Harris's sacrifice. Captain Monroe sat in the command chair, her hands clenched around the armrests, staring blankly at the endless stars ahead. The alien device, now dormant, sat on the command table. Its once shifting surface was still, as if mourning the loss of the Zarelian dreadnought, and the brave soul who had stayed behind to activate it. Dr. Cross hovered near it, her fingers brushing its edges as if searching for answers. Vega broke the silence. "Captain, I've managed to get a signal through to Earth." Monroe snapped out of her daze. "Patch me through." The screen flickered, and the face of Sophia Lang, president of the United Nations Alliance, appeared. Her expression was one of relief and concern. "Captain Monroe, we received your signal. What's the status of the mission?" Monroe's voice was steady, but heavy. "The Void Reaper mothership has been destroyed. Their hive mind has been disrupted. But we lost the Zarelian dreadnought, and one of our own." Lang's face darkened. "I see. And the device. It's still operational, but we don't fully understand it," Dr. Cross interjected. "It's far more than a weapon. It's connected to something deeper. The Zarelians designed it to interface with the Void Reaper's core systems, but I'm starting to think its purpose goes beyond that." Lang leaned forward. "Beyond how?" Cross hesitated. "I believe it's tied to the Void Reaper's origin. The Zarelians mentioned that they created the Void Reapers, but there's more to the story. This device, it's like a bridge, a link to something ancient." Before anyone could respond, the alien device began to glow faintly. The crew tensed, their eyes fixed on the table. Symbols appeared in the air once more, but this time they were accompanied by a low, resonant hum. "What's happening?" Vega asked, her voice tinged with fear. Cross's fingers flew over her console. "The device is responding to something. Something nearby." "Nearby," Monroe repeated, rising to her feet. "What kind of something?" The ship's AI chimed in, its calm tone contrasting with the crew's rising tension. "Unknown object detected. Distance, 2,000 kilometers. Approach velocity, minimal." "On screen," Monroe ordered. The display lit up, revealing a massive structure floating in the void. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, an enormous sphere of shifting light and shadow, its surface rippling like liquid metal. Tendrils of energy extended from it, curling and retracting as if it were alive. Cross's eyes widened. "That's not natural. That's a construct." "A Void Reaper construct?" Vega asked. Cross shook her head. "No, it's something else. Something older." The alien device pulsed again, its glow intensifying. Monroe's gut tightened. "Whatever it is, the device wants us to go there." Lang's voice crackled through the comm. "Captain, this could be a trap. You've already accomplished your mission. Return to Earth." Monroe's gaze never left the screen. "With all due respect, Madam President, this isn't over. The Void Reapers weren't just a threat. They were a symptom. If we don't find out what's behind all this, Earth will never be safe." Lang hesitated, then gave a reluctant nod. "Proceed with caution, Captain. The entire planet is counting on you." Monroe ended the transmission and turned to her crew. "Prepare for approach. Vega, keep communications open. Cross, I need you to figure out everything you can about that structure." As the Starfire moved closer to the sphere, the crew felt a growing unease. The structure was massive, dwarfing even the Zarelian dreadnought. Its surface shifted constantly, as if alive, and faint whispers seemed to echo through the ship. "Are you hearing that?" Vega asked, her voice trembling. Monroe frowned. "Hearing what?" "The whispers," Vega said, her eyes darting around. It's in my head." Cross's console lit up with data. "The structure is emitting a signal, similar to the Void Reaper's hive mind, but different. It's not hostile. It's calling to us. Calling to us." Monroe repeated, her tone skeptical. "Why?" Before Cross could answer, the ship's eye spoke again. "Incoming transmission from unidentified object." "Put it through," Monroe ordered. The screen flickered, and an image appeared. It wasn't a person, nor a creature, but a shifting, amorphous mass of light and shadow. A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English. "Humanity," it said, "you are more than they expected." Monroe stepped forward. "Who are you?" "What is this place?" "We are the architects," the voice replied. "We are the creators of the Void Reavers, and you, Deathworlders, are the anomaly we did not foresee." "Anomaly?" Cross asked, her curiosity overcoming her fear. "You are chaos," the architect said. "Unpredictable. Resilient. The Void Reapers were designed to consume and adapt, to bring order to the chaos of the universe. But they were not ready for you." Monroe's fists clenched. "So, you created a weapon that nearly wiped out an entire galaxy, and now you're saying we're the problem." The architect's voice didn't waver. "The Void Reavers are flawed. They could not comprehend your nature. But you can change everything. You are the key." "The key to what?" Cross asked. "To balance," the architects replied. "To ending the cycle of chaos and destruction. The device you carry, it is the bridge to this balance, but it comes at a cost." "What cost?" Monroe demanded. The light of the structure flared, and the voice grew louder. "You must choose. Destroy the device and ensure your survival, or use it and risk annihilation. The choice is yours, Deathworlders." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Monroe's voice was steady but laced with tension. "We've come too far to turn back now. Cross, figure out how to use that device. Vega, prepare for the worst. Whatever happens next, we face it together." As the starfire moved closer to the sphere, the alien whispers grew louder. The crew braced themselves for what was to come, knowing that humanity's fate, and perhaps the fate of the universe, hung in the balance. The final stand. The starfire floated within the shadow of the massive alien construct. The crew could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on them, the enormity of their mission sinking in. Beyond the ship's battered hull, the swirling tendrils of the architect's sphere seemed to ripple in anticipation, its shifting light casting eerie shadows across the bridge. Captain Monroe stood at the command table, her face set with grim determination. The alien device pulsed faintly, as though responding to the proximity of his creators. Dr. Cross was busy deciphering the last wave of symbols that had appeared, her hands trembling slightly. "It's not just a bridge," Cross said, breaking the tense silence. "The device is a conduit. If we activate it, it will link humanity's collective consciousness with the architect's network." Harris' replacement, a quiet engineer named Patul, furrowed his brow. "And what does that mean for us?" Cross hesitated. "It means everything. The architects want us to make a choice, use the device to merge with their system and potentially take control of the Void Reavers, or destroy it and sever the connection forever." Monroe's gaze sharpened. "What's the risk?" "If we merge, humanity becomes part of their network," Cross explained. "We might gain unimaginable knowledge, even power, but we could lose our individuality, our freedom. If we destroy the device, the Void Reaper's remnants might eventually regroup, and we'd be on our own." Silence fell over the bridge as the crew absorbed the weight of the decision. "Captain," Vega said, her voice low, "we're not just making this choice for ourselves. We're deciding the future of Earth, maybe the galaxy." Monroe nodded slowly. "And we're making that choice now." "Patul, what's our status?" "Shields are holding." "Barely," Patul replied. "But if we're going to activate the device, we'll need to stabilize our power core. The Void Reaper debris field is interfering with our systems." "Then let's get it done," Monroe said. "Time isn't on our side." As Patul worked to stabilize the power core, the sphere began to shift. Tendrils of energy reached out, enveloping the starfire in a soft glow. A voice, the same deep, resonant tone of the architects, filled the ship. "You hesitate, Deathworlders. Do you fear what you could become?" Monroe straightened. "We don't fear you. We fear losing what makes us human." The architect's voice was calm, almost amused. "Humanity's chaos is both your strength and your flaw. You are not like the others we created. You are something new." The alien device pulsed brighter, and the whispers returned, louder this time. Monroe turned to Cross. "What's happening?" Cross's voice was tight with urgency. "The device is reaching its final stage. If we're going to activate it, we need to do it now." Monroe glanced at her crew. Vega's hands hovered over the communication controls, her face pale but resolute. Patel worked furiously at his station, sweat dripping down his temple. Cross looked up from the device, her eyes pleading. "What's the call, Captain?" Vega asked. Monroe took a deep breath. "We fight. We always fight." Cross nodded and placed her hands on the alien device. Symbols swirled around her, and the bridge was bathed in light as the device activated. A wave of energy rippled out from the Starfire, connecting with the Architect's sphere. The ship shuddered as the connection was made. The whispers turned into a roar, and the crew clutched their heads as their minds filled with alien knowledge. Memories, images, and concepts beyond human comprehension flooded their consciousness. For a moment, they were no longer individuals but part of something vast, infinite. Monroe forced herself to focus. She could feel the Architect's presence, their cold, calculating logic pressing against her humanity. She fought back, drawing on the memories of Earth, the beauty of its sunsets, the laughter of its children, the resilience of its people. "Get out of my head," she growled through clenched teeth. "We're not your puppets." The Architect's voice wavered, surprised. "You resist, even now?" "Yes," Monroe spat. "Because we're human, and we don't bend." The device pulsed again, and the tendrils of the sphere recoiled. The crew gasped as the connection weakened, the overwhelming presence of the Architects retreating. "Captain, the Void Reaper remnants are destabilizing," Cross shouted. "Their hive mind is collapsing." On the screen, the remnants of the Void Reaper fleet began to implode, their forms twisting and breaking apart. The massive sphere began to crack, its once fluid surface hardening into jagged shards. "We're out of time," Monroe said. "Patel, get us clear of this thing." The Starfire powered up its engines, breaking free of the sphere's grip just as the construct exploded in a blinding flash of light. The ship was thrown forward, tumbling through the void before finally stabilizing. As the crew regained their footing, the screen showed nothing but empty space where the sphere had been. "It's over," Vega whispered. "We did it." Monroe sank into her chair, exhaustion washing over her. "Not yet," she said quietly. "We've won the battle, but the war isn't over. The Architects are still out there." Cross placed a hand on the dormant device. "And they know what we're capable of now." Monroe straightened, her resolve hardening. "Let them come. Humanity doesn't back down. We adapt. We survive. And if they want a fight, we'll give them one." The crew nodded, their fear replaced by a fierce determination. The Starfire turned toward Earth, battered but unbroken, carrying with it the hope of a species that refused to surrender.